Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for September 25th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone got some rest. We've got a busy morning this morning of economic reports that could move the market in either direction. So let's dive in and take a look at what happened first overnight. If we take a look at Asian markets last night, Asian markets a bit on the mixed side. Australia was higher by $8.50 or 0.10%. Hong Kong down by $33.97 or 0.13%. Korea fell by just $1.03 or 0.03%. The Nikkei was up 124.62 at 0.27%. We had, that was Japan. Yeah, that was the Nikkei. That was Japan. 124.62, 0.27%. India was lower by 166.05, 0.66%, and Shanghai was down by 0.34 cents at 0.01%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, European markets are red across the board, feeling a little bit on the bearish side. DAX right now down 149.60 or 0.63%. FTSE is down 21.66 or 0.23%, and the CAC is lower by 45.05, 0.58%. Looking at U.S. futures this morning, a little bit of a mix there. Last night they were all in the green, but they've been hopping around here quite a bit this morning. First off, we've got Dow futures still hanging on to the green here this morning, up 30 points at this very moment. S&P 500 futures are down just $5, and NASDAQ futures down 34 at the moment. If we take a look at bonds here this morning, bonds, well, they're hanging in there pretty good. We've had one tick lower, 1/10 lower in the 30-year bonds to 4.74%. 10-year bonds are hanging in there where they closed yesterday at 4.14%, and the 2-year bonds coming in at 3.60%. So, boy, these have been stubborn here. Since the rate cut, nothing but up in those bond prices here this morning, raising those interest rates right back up. Kind of an interesting situation. Now, as a result in there, if we take a look at our U.S. dollar is just ever so slightly lower. We had a really great pop-up yesterday in that dollar. We came up in here testing this downtrend resistance. Wasn't quite able to break on through there, keeping in mind we have quite a bit of other resistance in here that we're going to have to deal with if we start coming up through that chart. But it is encouraging that we held in here a higher low for the first time, so watch that carefully. Just ever so slightly lower here this morning, down by 8 cents. Now, that little bit of a push down here or push up yesterday had a rough day for gold yesterday, but that is reversing again this morning with the dollar just ever so slightly lower. At the moment, we've got gold futures are up $20.10 an ounce at $3,788 an ounce, and we're seeing silver as well. Silver moving back up and sharply so. Silver reversing hard, gapping up here this morning. Right now up $1.14 an ounce at $45.33 an ounce. Incredible move there on silver. If we take a look at what's going on in copper, well, copper Whew. Big push up yesterday and continuing to move sharply here. This is a COPX copper miner. Big zooming move there. We're up a little over 6 cents here this morning on copper, moving to the upside. Platinum is also on a run to the upside. Big push back up here in platinum at $43 an ounce, 2.90%. And palladium also getting a nice little reversal here, pushed back up 2.28% or $28.30 an ounce on platinum. If we take a look at cryptos, that is making that reversal back up yesterday in Bitcoin and cryptos, tearing it back up. We at this moment reversing back down here in Bitcoin, down $1,700 a coin here at this second, or 1.50%. If we take a look at Ether, Ether having a rough morning, down 133.85 a coin, 3.21% lower here this morning, and giving up that support here in the chart. Solana, also pretty rough morning here, down $10.18 a coin and falling by 4.62% here. So keep an eye on those. Pretty rough morning for those cryptos. We'll want to be keeping a pretty close eye on that. If we take a quick look at oil had a great day yesterday. Couple of really good days here recently. This morning we're pulling back just a little bit. We've got oil futures at this moment down 52 cents at 64.47 a barrel. In USO, breaking up through some of this little resistance in here. If it can hold up here, again, it's the higher low that makes a difference in a chart. So if it can hold up there, we're okay. If it breaks right back down, obviously that's not going to help us out here. But Brent crude right now down as well at 68.97. And natural gas reversed a little bit yesterday, pushing up and then pulling back toward the end of the day. But as you can see, natural gas, at least so far this morning, trying to go higher at up just over 2 cents here at the moment in natural gas. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in, let's buckle up, and let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you very much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts and see if we can figure out how we might approach today. First off, it's hard to know what to do today because we've got so many big reports coming here an hour before the market opens. But keeping an eye on this, we've got here in the diamonds, we didn't have that shooting star. We had a follow through yesterday, which is a little bit concerning here, but it's not terribly bearish yet because you can see we grabbed onto that support and held it yesterday. So if the bears were to have anything to say, we would need to break this down here in that chart and probably start moving down toward this area of price support in the chart. I don't think this gets really rough in the diamonds though, unless we were to break down below that little area of price support. We give up this big candle here. So watch that carefully. If the bears have anything to say, we could move pretty big, I would say, just because of the extremely low breadth in the market. But who knows, because we've been so resilient to the bullish side, we could also have a big bullish move. And if we hold off of this area, boy, I could easily see a big push here and new record highs easily in the market today on this economic data that's coming. So watch that carefully. I don't know if we're going to break higher or lower. I just think a big point move is likely with what we're seeing in the breadth of the market. So watch that carefully here in the diamonds. If we take a look at our SPY also inside day of uncertainty, and then we did follow through to the downside. You'll notice that we did take out just a little bit of support in here temporarily, and then at the end of the day we bounced back up to recover that. This morning, pushing back down below that area. If the bears were to have anything to say and follow through on this, well, obviously, first area we'll be watching is this little area of support, breaking back down below there. Probably won't hurt too much. It would be if we fall below that reversal candle right here. That's going to be worrisome if we were to drop below there. And I know a lot of folks are probably saying, come on, Campbell, there's no way we're going to drop that much that fast. Well, with the breadth the way it is, if we were to get some real bad economic data, I do think that's possible. And I think we could fall even more than that really easily if it inspires those bears because of the weakness in the breadth. If, however, the news is bullish, and every reason to believe it could be bullish, then watch this carefully in here, because I think we could also see a very big bullish move to the upside that could easily push us right back up here into blue sky highs. So watch that carefully. If we take a look at the QQQ, very much the same inside day, follow through to the downside, a little bit of bearishness. We kind of slipped that trend just a little bit here in the chart, but overall, no major problems. We came down here and we tested that area of price support and bounced right off of it at the end of the day yesterday. Looks like we're going to test it again this morning as we head into these numbers. Once again, if it's the bulls, we'll start with the bulls on this one. If the bulls find inspiration today in the data, definitely think that's possible, then we could actually see this reverse right back up and might be heading right back up here to those new record highs in the QQQ if they can get that moving to the upside. However, if those bears were to be able to follow through here today, first off, tested this area of support right in here. If we drop below there, then once again, I think the big concern in the QQQ is if we took out that big reversal candle here in the QQQ, if we fall below there. Obviously, there's a pretty good area of support just below that area as well. If we bounced off of there, not a big deal. If we pushed down and bounced off of there, remember, it's never the first pullback that's the problem. That is always the easy part. Okay, the next problem is wherever we land after a first pullback, it's always the rally back up that's critical. That's the place where we'll have to be watching pretty closely. So far, we're holding in here fine. So I still think there's a possibility of new record highs on the QQQ. And then if we look at the IWM also shooting star follow through, testing its upside trend here just a little bit. You'll notice that we held on yesterday right there to the top of that candle and the bottom of this candle. So pretty good area in there to hold on to. If the bulls find inspiration here, you can see it would be really pretty easy with a good bullish push. We could break right back through that area of resistance and pushing right back up here into all-time highs on IWM. However, if the bears were to have anything to say, it's not that big a move to break this area of support down in here, raising a little bit of concern in the market. But where things really would probably get a bit ugly on IWM is if we were to drop through this area of support in the chart. So watch that carefully if those bears grab onto anything in here on the day. Let's take a look at our VIX. VIX was pretty interesting yesterday. We saw fear. We saw fear in the market as we were selling off. And then at the end of the day, when we were getting that push back up, the fear really pulled back. So interesting on here, but one of the things I think we want to be paying attention to is as we've been stretching higher and higher in the market, we're making these little higher lows in the VIX. So keep an eye on that. I think what we've got going on here today is just a tremendous amount of uncertainty about what these numbers will do to the market today. So watch that in here. If the bulls continue to find inspiration in here, got a little bit of price support here in that, but I think there's a good chance with a big point move, we could drop this right back down into that upside trend, or maybe even right back down into this area of price support in the chart. Wouldn't surprise me at all on a day like today. If the bears get inspired, well, be careful, because we could really push this right through this next resistance area in the chart, and could really get some bearish action going if those bears find anything in that data to be upset about. Let's take a look at our T20s. Our T2122 indicator pulled back yesterday, but again, no major problems there. We just fell below the 50% area here in the chart on that pullback. And actually, I see this as a good thing, because we haven't pulled back here for a while. It's just been relentless bullishness, and it's put us into an overbought situation in a lot of cases. So this pullback here is a healthy thing for the market to do. So if the data today is bullish, my goodness, we have opened up a big bullish opportunity for those bulls to push back through to the upside. And I think that is possible today. So watch that carefully. However, if those bears get inspired today by the data, just keep in mind, we still have a pretty sizable move that we could push down into this bullish reversal zone in the chart. And I will remind everybody that we took a little peek at it here in August, but we actually haven't been down in the bullish reversal zone, meaning a good solid pullback since April. So we're due for it. I'm not saying we're going to get it, but we're due for it if those bears find any reason to do that. If we take a look at our T2108, T2108 percentage of stocks above the 40-day slipped just a little bit yesterday, but not enough to be any major concern in here. You'll notice we're still holding easily above that 50% area. If the bears grab onto something here today, though, I do expect that could easily fail and start pushing down. And that's kind of a key psychological area here of the market. We'll want to watch that carefully. However, if the bulls find inspiration, I would not rule out that possibility that we bounce right off of this area and really stretch back up here toward the 60%. See if we can even break on higher here up toward 65. So watch that carefully if the bulls find good data this morning. And then if we look at our T2107, T2107 had the most minor pullback, just barely in here pulled back. So there's no harm, no damage here in T2107. I will say, however, if the bears have anything to say, we'll want to be watching this area, this 50% area, pretty carefully, because again, kind of that psychological level, if we were to suddenly break back down through there, breaking this upside trend, that would cause maybe a little bit of concern. But at the same time, if those bulls grab onto something here today and can push us back higher, I see that possibility. We could push hard, breaking through this last recent high and even pushing up here toward that 60% area here in T2107. Now, if we look at our Brett, my goodness, I did this yesterday. I pulled this back on a weekly chart. We are setting, yesterday we had a breadth level that we have not seen in a very long time. You can see we tested down here in 2018, but then it's all the way back to 2001. This breadth is incredibly weak in the market. And what that means is that we could have a very big potential move or big point whipsaws with breadth being this weak. When we think about that, to bring this breadth back up, is it going to be the bulls? And that's why I think a big point move to the upside is possible. If the bulls find inspiration, we could zoom back up to the upside. We could also see the bears do that. If the bears grabbed a hold, I think there's a chance that we could get a big point move to the downside if those bears take over here in the market, at least on a temporary basis. So watch that carefully. Now, breadth this low also opens that door where we could gap or get a really big move one direction and then completely whipsaw it the other direction to the downside or upside, whichever way it were to move on the day. So watch that carefully. We're opening up that door for higher volatility in the market here with this kind of weak breadth. So make sure you plan your trading carefully. Now, if we take a look at our economic calendar here for the day, looking at our economic calendar, we've got that busy morning here to be dealing with. First off, we've got Goolsbee speaking here this morning. A lot of Fed speak here today, quite a few Fed speakers, so pay attention to that. But then we're going to have this durable goods orders. Now, durable goods can move the market. If we stay in the consensus range, probably not going to see any really big impacts. You'll notice here that we're looking for an improvement here on the month over month from a negative 2.8 to a negative 0.5. If it comes in even stronger than that, I would say that would be bullish for the market, and we could get going here with a little bit of bullish enthusiasm. If it happens to come in much weaker than these numbers are showing here, that's where we can get those bears maybe to engage. We've got GDP in here. They're expecting GDP to stay flat here at 3.3. That would be a good thing to stabilize this a little bit. Watch that carefully. It would be a big miss in here that could probably inspire those bulls or bears depending on which way that number misses. Then we've got international trade in goods. Now, international trade goods is expected to improve from a negative 103.6 to a negative 94.4. That would be a good thing. We want to be keeping a close eye on this. This can move the market. So watch that carefully on that report this morning. And then we've got jobless claims. Now, this has been a real concern for the Fed. We've been seeing those jobs numbers creep up. But remember, last week we stabilized quite a bit in those claims. We're in a range that's really acceptable, I think, for the Fed. If we continue to see this stabilizing week over week instead of moving sharply higher, we might be in good shape here. Unfortunately, that would not warrant more rate cuts if that's the case. So watch that carefully here. If this suddenly jumps higher in here, that could really inspire those bears here today with the current bond prices. So watch that carefully. If it comes in less than this, I think that would be a good thing for the market. But once again, it might be that double-edged sword where if this comes in good, the bulls are going to be disappointed because it may take away their opportunity of additional rate cuts. So watch that carefully here today. It's interesting that we would almost be rooting for people to go on unemployment so that we could get a rate cut, but that's where we're at in this market. We've got corporate profits after that. We've got retail inventories, wholesale inventories not likely to move the market. Another Fed speaker in here. Existing home sales, however, can move the market. We'll want to watch that. They are suggesting those home sales decline just a little bit. I got to tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if this goes higher. And the only reason I say that is we had that temporary pullback in those bond prices, and we saw that provided a little bit of inspiration for new home sales to spike yesterday. So watch that carefully. I think existing home sales might have a chance of getting a little bit of bullishness here today. We've got Bauman, we've got quarterly services survey, a natural gas report, and then if you look on here, we've got a 4-week and 8-week bond auction, a 7-year note auction, several Fed speakers here this afternoon to be paying attention to. And as we get through all of that, we're going to be thinking pretty heavily about this right here. This is that the Fed's favorite inflation number. That'll be up on Friday morning to be paying attention to. So watch that carefully. We've also got a consumer sentiment, some more Fed speak in there, Baker Hughes rig count. So keep an eye on that. We've still got a little bit of data to get through this week. If we look at the earnings calendar here today, we have our biggest day of notable earnings this week. We're going to see this morning ACN will be reporting. Keep an eye on that. We've got CarMax that will report this morning. Looks like that's disappointing just a little bit. We've got JBL reporting this morning, trying to move a little bit higher there, and SNX reporting this morning as well. So keep an eye on those notables for this morning. There are a few other stocks in there that are reporting today, but they're not particularly notable. If we take a look at this afternoon, boy, we'll have a retail look here today. Costco will be reporting after the bell today. Obviously, Costco been struggling in this wedging pattern in here. We'll want to be watching that pretty close for this afternoon's report. We're also going to hear from BlackBerry here today, so watch that. BlackBerry is trying to go up here this morning in anticipation. Watch that. And CNXC will be reporting this afternoon as well, so keep an eye on those reports. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. If you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, clicking that thumbs up button, leaving a brief comment helps an awful lot. I truly appreciate it. Remember, guys, it doesn't cost you anything. There's a lot of people that watch my video that never click the subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. So if you find this useful, please click that subscribe button. It helps out a lot, and it makes it worth doing these videos. Obviously, it takes quite a bit of time to put all this together and put all this information together in these videos. So thank you to everyone who does take the time to do that. Let's take a look at these stocks that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, they're not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. And remember, everyone, that anything is possible here today with these economic data points. So plan your trading carefully and be very, very focused here on what's going on in these reports today. Let's take a look at a few things in the oil sector. Boy, I got to tell you, really nice moves in some stocks in the oil sector. As you guys know, I've been mentioning Valero Energy as an opportunity. What a beautiful pattern right in here. That just stretched right on through, moving on up, testing this next resistance in the chart all the way out over here. But I would keep an eye on Valero. As you can see, a little bit of a shooting star, maybe catch another little rest in here. If this were to consolidate or rest back a little bit toward that trend, then I'd look for that next opportunity and maybe a push up into all-time highs. Keep an eye on that. Take a look at BP. BP also doing really well the last few days, stretching up here. You can see we're trying to test this resistance up here. If we could push that out after maybe a little bit of consolidation or rest, I would watch that carefully. Very pretty looking chart if that holds in that pattern, so watch that closely. You might also want to be taking a look at like APA, one of the producers out there. Beautiful, beautiful little pop there right off of trend and price support. Watch that for some opportunities in there. Obviously, we're getting a little bit of a pullback here this morning, and that's probably what we need to set up that next opportunity. So keep an eye on some of those oil sector stocks starting to pick up here just a little bit. You know, yesterday I was looking for any kind of hint of rotation where we might be seeing a little bit of a safety play coming into the market. Didn't find much in there. You can see Colgate Palmolive still very low. Tried to pop up a little bit, but nothing in that safety play with Kroger. Walmart might be one to watch. Walmart holding in here on support, and of course another big retailer with Costco reporting today. You want to be keeping a close eye on that. This little higher low could really find inspiration on a good Costco number. That could push up, but watch that carefully. Could also go that way if we get some disappointment on that side. When it comes to big tech, yesterday, and big tech had a little bit of a rough day, except for things like Intel. Intel really had a good zooming day in there yesterday, pushing back up. Now, definitely not what you would call a mega tech. As a matter of fact, Kevin O'Leary says it should have been sold off for its parts a long time ago. Obviously not the best situation here, but since that big investment is coming in from NVIDIA, really sparking some life here into Intel. So watch that carefully after breaking through that resistance. If this can rest or pull back in here at any point in time, could set up a nice opportunity. And then the other, Tesla, had a good day yesterday, while the rest of tech was having a bit of a challenge. So nice push up here. If you look right in here, breaking through some resistance here in the chart. Any little rest or consolidation in there could still set up that opportunity to the upside here. I'd keep a close eye on that chart. Could be interesting to pay attention to if you're looking for some of those tech plays here in the market. Other things out there, take a look at Unity Software in here. Unity still setting up in this really nice consolidating pattern. We are starting to slip this upside trendy here just a little bit, but we've seen a lot of that here recently. If we can find bullish inspiration here today, I'd look for that opportunity that could pop on through, move on through to the upside. I would continue to keep an eye on the miners out here. Take a look at the stocks in GDX. Nice little resting pullback with that action the last couple of days in gold. Watch that carefully. We could easily see that push to the upside if gold continues to strengthen today, or even just set up for that next opportunity. Keep an eye on GDX. Take a look at Barrick Gold. That is a very bullish chart in here. Just needs maybe a little bit more rest, a little bit more consolidation, come out here to trend a little bit. I'd keep an eye on some of those miners. They're looking really good. If you take a look at Alcoa, this looked like this was going to get something done, but yeah, not so much there. Pushed back down below the trend. So aluminum not going along with the silver, gold, platinum, palladium kind of theme here in the market. So watch that carefully. This pops back up into this resistance. It could actually end up short. I'm going to say kind of the same thing here for AMD. AMD rallied up here into its 50-day moving average, found that resistance up here again. You can see that failure here and that failure maybe coming here. Watch that carefully here on AMD. If we get some bearish action in these techs, there may be an opportunity of this following through to the downside here in AMD. So watch that carefully here if you're looking for something on the short side of the market. Take a look at some stocks like AMBA. We are seeing a really nice pattern here in AMBA. Nice little resting consolidation, pulling back toward this trend, pulling back toward some support. If we can get those bulls to get inspired today, I certainly think there's a possibility of that. We hold in here, we might see that AMBA pushing right on through to the upside. Watch that carefully. And we want to also be keeping an eye on things like WPM here, another precious metal miner in here. Keep an eye on that, holding in this pattern. Look for that opportunity there. You might want to be starting to take a look at Starbucks. Now, I know Starbucks has been down, and it's been kind of dead money for a long time. But I've been watching it because this turnaround story is getting further and further in their process to turn the company around. Watch this carefully. We're trying to sneak out from underneath this downtrend. If this can hold in here, if this holds and we see a little bit of bullish push, might be a reason to start nibbling into some Starbucks to see if that can start recovering and coming back around here in the market. Had some really good profits here lately on those kind of trades. So watch that carefully here if that can turn back around in those charts. Now Apple pulled back here, little resting pattern here. Can't deny how bullish that chart is. Little resting pattern in here. If those bulls come along, watch for that opportunity for that to push up. I will say this move back up is steep, so if the bears have anything to say today, if they find something to grab onto, don't be too surprised if this has a pretty sharp pullback in it as well. So you're going to have to watch that pretty carefully. Take a look at TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx had a nice little bullish candle pop in here. It wasn't enough to break through my resistance up here, but I'll be watching that closely here today. You might also want to be keeping an eye on things like RTX. With the comments from the president in here, we're seeing a re-engaging in some of these aerospace and defense. RTX, really nice move there to the upside. Any little rest or pullback sets up an opportunity in that trade. So I have gone way over my time here with all these things that I'm looking at. I hope you appreciate the extra time. I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thanks so much for being here. I wish you all the best. See you right back here bright and early Friday morning. Take care, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.